Hey, before we get started on this episode, I want to wish everybody happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Boxing Day. Enjoy the holidays with your friends and family. This week's episode goes back to October with my live event from Bendición to Chancleta, the intersectionality of mental health and finances in the Latino, Latinx, Latinx community, which working on a new book with a similar title, scheduled to come out in the spring of 2026. So that's breaking news. You're hearing it first on the podcast. Happy New Year. This is the last episode of the season. And see you in 2026 for season 12 of the podcast, year 6 of the podcast. So let's go.
What's up? How you doing? Happy Saturday! Happy Saturday! What's going on? Yeah! How's everybody doing? Yeah, what's up? Para la gente blanca, stay mad, because Bad Bunny's hosting the Super Bowl. DJ Exclusives, ¿cómo está? How you doing? Thank you so much for coming through. Shout out to my man Capo, Highbridge USA, the best section of the Boogie Down Bronx represented. Y'all represent for Highbridge to keep the money circulating in the community. So everybody that's here, he could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me, to quote Jay-Z, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much for coming out on a Saturday. You can either stay standing, lay down, sit, however, make you feel comfortable. Another bright sun. It's a beautiful sunny day. You get a tan and some financial education and dealing with your mental health and your finances all in one shot. God is good. Yes, so we're going to start with a little, each got a fake $100 bill. I'm sure y'all wish it was a real $100 bill in this economy. Thank you to our lovely Commander-in-Chief for messing up our economy. So we social workers, we like to do a little pregame. And so basically, I asked you guys to write one thing you're currently struggling with regarding your finances, and if you had all the money in the world, what would you like to do with it? I know for me, struggling, I'll start first. One of the struggles right now is, as a small business owner, you're learning as you're growing and you make mistakes, and I definitely added a lot of unnecessary business debt that's kicking my behind right now. And it's affecting issues that I want to do in terms of investing in stocks and things of that nature. If I had all the money in the world, definitely be traveling more, definitely retiring for social work. All the gray hairs that you see in my head and I'm balding, all that's related to social work. And my body's breaking down little by little. Anybody else was brave enough to share what they wrote down?
I don't know if I can. It's kind of loud for I call it my growth area. And since I started my business, I just opened up my retirement account. And it's been 4 years since I started the business. I have a retirement account. It's just that I hadn't invested all this time that I had been growing the business, and that's a new growth area for me.
Congratulations on doing that. It's big.
Okay, Okay, so for me, I put for my financial struggle, just kind of finding another way to make passive income through my career and not just depending on my school-based position, but just finding other ways that I can make money through what I love to do. So that's been a financial struggle. And then if I had all the money, same thing, traveling, pay off all my debt and just travel for a year. That's what I would do.
So for my financial struggles, I would say increasing my 403b funds and also crypto investment. I want to invest more in crypto. My son got me into crypto. And then if I had all the money in the world, this is interesting. I would want to have my own foundation to give money to startups and nonprofits in addition to retiring and traveling. But I've always wanted to have my own foundation, Robin Hood type of vibe. So
I like that.
I wouldn't be leaving my social work hat.
It reminded me of what I had planned. So one of the things that I have planned if I had all the money in the world, yes, retirement, yes, travel, yes, do things with my family. But I would start a wellness program or school where not only do you do business, but health things as well, and all the self-care that we miss when we work really hard or we focus on one thing and then everything else is derailed in our lives. So I want there to be some kind of cohesive school where you get all of it, right? There's time to look at the sun in the morning and have good meals and rest well. Because, health is wealth. So
Absolutely.
Take care of the whole
Thank you for your participation. So, as we talk about mental health and finances, for some reason when I talk to people, for some reason they don't make the connection, put two and two together. And people are really struggling out here. We see it, we experiencing it for ourselves, we see it with people who we work with, if we have businesses and dealing with our clients, and things are just really hard right now. People still are dealing with the aftermath of the pandemic that people don't want to talk about, but it's real, and we see it especially as social workers, we see it day in, day out. So just think about the intersections of mental health, finances, our emotions, in one big overlapping, like the Olympic rings, all of it interacts. So if I see you guys in here today, just think about what you have in common. And I tell you one thing that a lot of people don't realize, that especially Latinos, the power that we have. 4.1 trillion is, if lump us all together, all the Latinos, Latinx, Hispanic, however you want to define yourselves, lump all of us together, doesn't matter what country you are, we are $4.1 trillion of gross domestic products in the United States. We're in the top 5, if we were all a country, top 5 of all the countries in the world. So think of the power that we have when we go outside, we buy stuff. I know there's the big Target boycott happening, and people want to boycott this store and that store. Think about everything all these companies are doing, all the DEI that they're getting rid of, and tenemos el poder. Our wallets have strong, powerful force that we don't want to give. If we don't want to give you our money, we don't have to give you our money. You got to come to us and figure out ways to come to us. We don't have to come to you anymore. We could create our own thing. We could, start a business. We could investments, and the information is out there. We don't have to be struggling anymore. Ever since, for me, 2020 was like an even playing field for everybody. The information is out there. YouTube University, all these different organizations that are talking about financial education, financial literacy, all these things. Like, the information is out there. Is us to seek it and take advantage of it. 4.1 trillion in the top 5 in the world. Traditional ways that people have saved money. Many of our mamas, our dads, our abuelas, abuelos, using the mattress, the shoebox, people putting money in the bank, obviously. They get their traditional ways. They've gotten money through Social Security benefits, SSI, SSD. I said the shoebox, the mattress, or not even saving money at all. People are coming from other countries that the banking institutions are corrupt and not trusting these banking institutions to put money in. Money myths in the Latino, Latinx community. What happens in this house stays in this house. Eso no se habla. We don't talk about that. We hear it. Many of us grew up hearing that, and then we have kids, and then we say it to our own kids. It's just ongoing cycle. If I make a will, I'm going to die. The importance of having these conversations of talk about generational wealth, financial literacy. Many of us are maybe first-time homeowners and want to keep that within the family, or we buy a property for the first time and got either doing Airbnb or just renting it out and building generational wealth that way. But to keep the property, keep all those investments and everything like that within your own family. There's wills, there's estate planning that goes into that. And, I see stuff in Philly happening that there's, people not realizing they're signing off on their property, and then they're losing their property that way. There's a whole scam happening in Philly recently. So the importance of having documentation of your property, things of that nature. My family knows what to do. I don't need a will. You need a will, you need to do estate planning, having beneficiaries for life insurance policies, making sure they're up to date, because, you might have been married once, got divorced, but the ex-wife is still on the beneficiary, and those things happen. You go to school, you get a job with benefits, then retire. Those beneficios. I remember my first social work job in foster care. My mom was like, "But tiene beneficios?" It's like, all right, good, that's good. I'm like, yeah, I think so. So I'm like, but I wasn't educated on what those benefits would look like or what to look for when I finally got put on the job's payroll. Historical reasons why our community is not thriving financially. Number one, systemic racism. We still deal with it to this day. I know for what happened this week in the Bronx with the projects, that partial building collapse, that's systemic racism because our company, our government refuses to help our people out. Discrimination with banks, such as Wells Fargo, Navy Federal, historically, Navy Federal, there was a whole thing with Navy Federal in 2023. Wells Fargo, every once in a blue, always doing something they're not supposed to be doing in terms of discrimination. 2023, Navy Federal rejected 56% of mortgage applications for Latinos. And we see all those Navy Federal commercials. 2020, people heard the Navy Federal play that these financial influencers were talking about and trying to scam money from Navy Federal for money. So Navy Federal has been in the news a lot these last 5 years. Not always for good things. In 2020, Wells Fargo rejects half of non-white applicants to refinance their homes. And if you remember back in 2020, 2021, interest rates were at all-time lows for mortgages. Interest rates were between 2 to 3%. I was blessed when I signed off on my home in Delaware, first-time homeowner with having good credit, which is important, having a 2.75 interest rate on my house. And we ain't leaving no time soon, unless we leave in the country. That's the only way we leave in our house. Redlining. We still dealing with that even in 2025. Look what's happening in Texas, that they're changing all these districts to a point that they're trying to get rid of Jasmine Crockett's seat in the Congress. The war on drugs. Who remembers the egg on the pan? This is your brain on drugs. Any questions? I'm like, yeah. Nancy Reagan, just say no. Throwing it back. Nancy Reagan, God rest her soul. In the U.S., we think about going to immigration, which I'll talk about later, but the U.S. Wants to siempre tiene que meter en cosas throughout the countries in Latin America. The U.S. has caused more issues regarding immigration that they want to admit. Look what's happening in Venezuela and Colombia, and literally this week they're attacking people in Venezuela off the coast. Scarcity mindset, a belief that there isn't enough, that there will never be enough. Social work, that rings a bell hard. We always struggling, and there's infighting within our profession about the importance of, we're busting our behind to care for our clients, but we need to get paid our worth too. And they always talk about in social work, we in it for the outcome, not the income. And that's been a terrible generalization in our profession for years, and is affecting us in how society looks at us as social workers. No, we need to get paid our worth. And everybody else too, not just social workers, but teachers. My lovely wife is a speech language pathologist. She needs to get paid her worth too. Afro-Latinas, we talk about colorism. Afro-Latinas often experience further marginalizations due to compounding effects of gendered racism and colorism. Should we see that in, name me one Afro-Latina that's like the star in the novelas, even to 2025. We see them as like the waitresses, or we see them like the just.
Well, no, I don't know any of them. She's a big pop artist and
she's like the main one. But exactly, so we see like the lack of representation in our TV shows. If we have a good TV show, they immediately get canceled after a few years. According to data from the Motley Fool, so that's one of the many good resources in terms of finances. Approximately 61% of people of color in the United States have a savings account, with Black Americans having slightly lesser rate at 65%, and Hispanic Latino Americans at 50%. This is significantly lower compared to the 75% of white Americans who have a savings account. And this is from a year ago, September 12th of 2024. So think of ourselves, think of our neighbors, think of, in our communities, like the lack of money that's been in our communities, that's still to this day, the struggles that we see day in, day out. First gen guilt. If anybody's a first gen person, you might experience this. The expectation of helping your family financially while potentially risking your own personal finances. Like the traditional expectations of you're the oldest, you gotta, tú tienes buen trabajo, we need some money, or send money to your family members in your country. There's all these traditional things that have been taught down to us historically, and things are slowly changing, but our traditions are still there. Not meeting this expectation, the family may label you as ungrateful. My agradecido. I busted my ass to help you. Why are you not helping? Think you all that? Say what?
Sounds like my dad's family. He actually helps his entire family. And being the second eldest. So 10 kids, second eldest. I don't tell my grandparents, and consider it. Because he was the one that was able to, kind of make it,
Yeah.
and things like that. So, yeah. And if you didn't, it was like, oh, why are you, bringing money, and oh, you made it, and now it's like you forget about the families.
Familismo, a central Latino, Latinx cultural value, making us value the importance of strong family loyalty and closeness to our family. Basically what you just explained. Our pay gap. Closing the pay gap, a business imperative in the United States. This is a study that was done. Latinas earn on average 43% less than white men and 28% less than white women. Research shows that this pay wage gap begins as early as 16. So here in major cities like Philly in the U.S., I think about when I worked doing summer youth at 15. And I can't imagine, my son is 16, my daughter's 13. I can't imagine that when she turns 16 and get paid less than boys her own age, just because she's a girl, because she's a Latina. Like we talked about earlier, you get paid your worth. Although Latinas are pursuing higher education and at increasing rates, a college degree fails to close this gap. So we think about, we need to get another certification, we need to get bachelor's, associates, bachelor's, master's, even doctorate, get a second master's. You do all these things, get all this debt, and still going to get paid less than a white man in the U.S. In fact, this disparity is the widest for Latinas with a bachelor's degree who earn 35% less than white men on average. Over the course of a career, this wage shortfall can amount to the loss of over $1 million for a Latina compared to her white male counterparts. Imagine them having $1 million. Now in the U.S. currently, last I saw, to basically retire, you need at least $2.8 million. And that's of currently 2025. I see reports. So imagine you already have $1 million, you're halfway there. And because you're a woman, you're a Latina, not getting paid your worth, and you're losing out for no fault of your own. As a result, many Latinas face financial barriers that limit their ability to invest in education, purchase a home, build wealth. Access to capital for Latina entrepreneurs. Latina entrepreneurs are on the rise, but they face significant barriers, particularly in accessing financing. Latina-owned businesses only get about 39% of the amount requested from local and national banks. Like we talked about earlier with the banks I mentioned, the systemic racism that affects our institutions and is affecting Latina women more than anybody else. A recent study done by the UCLA Latino Policy and Politics Institute in 2024, Afro-Latinas were twice as likely to be unemployed as non-Latina white women, and their unemployment rates were on par with black women. This is why I always talk about when we go to these national conferences, conventions, that you see, we have to be together. We have to be a greater force together, and because of white supremacy, like there's always infighting between black and brown folks, but we're stronger together than separate, and we have to come together, especially during these times that we currently in. So you think of everything I just said, our mental, our emotional, and financial, all intertwines, all intersects. You may not see it or experience it until maybe right now. It's like, wow, it's not just me. It's the system that I'm in, living in America, or maybe other parts of the world experiencing this as well. And you come in here expecting, as America, land of the free, home of the brave, and coming here, bust my behind working, and just because I'm a Latina woman in the U.S., and I'm getting screwed. That's going to affect your mental health, your emotional health, and obviously your financial health is impacted. The touchy subject of immigration. I mentioned earlier the U.S. plays a major part in why the immigration crisis currently exists in our country. Research by Latino immigrants, this is recent research that was done. Latino immigrants accounted for 1.6 trillion in the GDP in the United States, according to the Latino Donor Collaborative. We are helping the United States of America be as strong as it could be in terms of our economic power. We're not the ones messing up the country. We are contributing to it greatly. Before I talk about a way to help immigrants in terms of their finances, obviously we got to talk about the commander-in-chief, who's making 2025 like the longest year ever, and everything that he's doing since he started in office. And he said he was going to do everything he said he was going to do. And even just what happened recently in Chicago, remember stuff seen online of unfortunate African Americans like, oh, he's not going to come after us. Bueno, he sure did this week, having ICE coming in and putting African American, black and brown folks, having ICE agents in the middle of the night, putting them in handcuffs and those tie things, zip ties. So he's coming after all of us. Obviously, we're talking about ICE playing a big factor. Earlier this year, Delaware, where I live at, especially the southern part, there were many ICE raids that happened in southern Delaware and throughout the country. That's been and still going on here in New York, where we're currently filming. To help undocumented individuals can participate in the U.S. financial system by applying for a ITIN, Individual Taxpayer Identification Number with the IRS. They could use that number, basically is like a social security number, and they could potentially get certain bank accounts, bank organizations, bank institutions they can open up a bank account with that number. I know I've done that with clients, and like, what is this? They actually be teaching me how to do it, because they come in here into the country, and they already know about how to do this, and like, oh snap! And like, basically they could get a driver's license. There's loopholes, but they could get these things. We got to acknowledge our financial trauma that exists. According to Dr. Galen Buckwater, a researcher, psychologist who studies the psychology of money, defines money trauma as the psychological, emotional, and cognitive deficits people experience when they cannot cope with either abrupt financial loss or chronic stress of having inadequate financial resources. Examples of financial trauma: inheriting toxic money beliefs from the caretakers. We talked about this earlier. The cycle continues until somebody obtains the financial knowledge to break that cycle. Like, no, I see no way. We gotta do it this way. That's wrong. I mentioned earlier at the very beginning the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic. That people to this day are struggling. Our kids are struggling with school. School act like pandemic never happened. That piece of paper you see in front of you, I mean, one time I had a kid, a first grader, came in, saw a piece of paper on the desk, the do now, and he like threw the table up in the air, threw his chair down, and immediately I had to like go get him. I'm like, you gotta do your work. I don't know what to tell you. But just, it's real. These impacts are real. I'm dealing with clients day in, day out. Well, I can't pay my light bill. I can't pay my rent. Can't pay my mortgage. And at least in Delaware, where I live at, the resources are slim pickings to try to help folks. And I know major cities are dealing with, issues with helping the people out. Being in chronic debt, people think that there is some good debt out there if you know how to leverage it, but just being in debt and thinking that's normal, and like, I'll just pay the minimum, and all these years, you're like, why is it never going down? I'm paying interest, and you pay more in interest than the actual balance, and you stuck in the cycle. I remember when like 2014, 2015, I really took advantage of my student loans. And it's like paying every month, and I never see the balance going down. I called the company up, I was like, I pay you every month, well, I don't see my balance going down. And literally, the person told me how much per day was the interest. I said, okay. So now I knew every month after that how to attack, so I can actually see the balance going down. The sudden loss of a job. See, because of the economy happening, many people are losing their jobs. We got a current government shutdown as of, this is day 4 of the shutdown. People are working, not getting paid. People got furloughed. 300,000 African American women lost their jobs, the government jobs. Those are jobs that people don't leave, that you retire from, and you work however many years you work till you retire and you get those benefits that we talked about, pensions, and one of those rare jobs that you still have pensions in 2025. Pandemic, people lost their jobs, furloughed. I saw me dance earlier. If you're a day one Social Work Rants Podcast fan, I used to teach Zumba back in 2020. That's why I did my little dance. And I got furloughed from my gym job because the gyms were closed thanks to COVID. Unstable income. I know my dad used to work off the books for many, many years. That income wasn't coming in all the time. I know many people working odd jobs now, people entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurship's a struggle, especially if you're trying to do public speaking in 2025. A lot of these folks don't have the funds. They were getting these DEI money, and Trump cut all that out. And people are struggling that's why you try to create stuff like this to try to get some money. So the struggle is real out there. I mentioned earlier the chronic inability to pay bills, low wage work, and entering the job market during a recession. People say a recession is coming or is already here, or we've kind of been on and off in a recession for the last couple of years, even with Biden being in office. So it depends who you talk to, what economists you listen to. We kind of might be in one. One of my favorite things to talk about and why I do my business is the struggles of caregiving. I'm a full-time caregiver of a 78-year-old man, my dad, Basiliso Sr., and literally many of us who are in the sandwich generation are really going through it, taking care of kids, taking care of yourself, taking care of your older adult. It could be your mom, your dad, your aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa, whoever you're taking care of, and struggles are getting worse. So the great people of the National Alliance for Caregiving, along with AARP, did an amazing study that recently came out in 2025. One of my personal highlights of 2025 was this study that they did. There are 63 million Americans who are caregivers in the United States. 63 million people who got to work, many people who are working, taking care of an older adult family member. 60% of those family caregivers are Latinos. And we talked about earlier about, traditionally, it's only like a rite of passage, you would say, traditionally, like, it's an honor to take care of a family member. That's just what we do, historically. And times are changing that sometimes we cannot be our family member's retirement person, or like, I'm just gonna live through you. 27% reporting caregiving makes it difficult to care for their own health. That is so true. The struggle is real as we age, the person doing the caretaking, and we might have our own health issues, whether it be high blood pressure, diabetes start forming, or for me, bone spurs and multiple parts of my body. That thank you, social work, for that. Just the day-to-day struggles of caregiving, is real. 28% report physical strain as a result of caregiver. Like I mentioned earlier, like literally your body. I remember I was taking from my mom, and months before I was playing basketball, and I literally, for a miracle, I didn't break my finger. I just had like just a strain in my ligament in my finger, and literally was busy, giving her sponge baths. Like literally, she was bedbound, so I literally had to change diapers and do all the things. And like, my back, like, Mom, you gotta turn. And my back was killing me. I had just got diagnosed with muscle spasms and issues with my back, and quickly with the time after taking care of my mom. So the struggles are definitely real in terms of caregiving. As I'm talking about our sandwich generation, folks.
Gen X.
So before I play this video, Rosita, you saw this video earlier this year.
Oh, yeah.
We don't always talk about our, I mentioned earlier about talking about having a will, what's going to happen to you. God forbid you end up in the hospital and you're in a coma and you can't make your own medical decisions. Like, who's there to make a decision? Having those conversations are hard to have, but it's important to have these sort of conversations, and we could, those struggles of having a conversation, or like in your head, it'd be like, if I had this conversation, so my mom she's still strong enough to smack me across my face. Having these, you go through all these issues in your head and like scenarios but you need to have these conversations. And unfortunately, we might have in our minds, our conversation in terms of, I need to talk about estate planning. It might look like this video. Just pretend that President Bush at the time, we need to talk about estate planning. Boom! We're not talking about estate planning. What are you doing? I'm not going to die. ¿Qué te pasa? It might look like that in our head. I'll try to use that video as an example of we need to have these conversations, and it's scary to have a conversation. Don't want to think about one day you're going to lose your mom, your dad, your grandma, or your aunt, or whoever it is that you're caring for. But if they got property, they got some money outside, or they had a house that's been in the family for generations, and you need to protect what you have. So it's important to have these sort of conversations. Now we have to talk about ways to thrive in this economy, or just thriving in general. We need to know and open a high yield savings account. You could Google, go ChatGPT, any sort of AI, or just Google what are top high yield savings accounts. There's still some that go up to like 5%, even currently now in 2025, from as little as 3.75% to all the way to 5%. It's important to put our money not in a regular any old account, open up a high yield savings account. Now, having at least 3 to 6 months of expenses in a high yield savings account. And I know that with our current economy that we're in, I know that's hard, but especially many folks don't even have $1,000 in a savings account. That's many of our clients who we deal with. That might be us, we struggling, or we're lucky enough to have 3 to 6 months. Life is life, and we gotta tap into that money to like whatever. I know for myself, I literally had to upgrade the two toilets in my bathroom, and luckily I had the money to pay for that. So I'm blessed and fortunate to have that money in my high yield savings account to tap into to do stuff to take care of my house. Learn to invest in the stock market. I am not a financial advisor. Don't ask me what stocks to invest. Just learn to invest. It will help you. Your older you will help you. Will thank you in the future for investing in the stock market. Just like I said, they just do your research. There's plenty of people on YouTube. Be careful who you watch on YouTube because there's a lot of scammers out there also as well. But definitely learn about the stock market. When they talk about S&P 500 and all the stuff they see on the news, like learn what companies are in the stocks. You got an iPhone, you could, an example, invest in Apple. You got an Android, invest in Google. It's different. Be surprised if you have a house and the company taking out your garbage. I'm sure they are in the stock market. If you have a 9 to 5, put some money in the 401k, for nonprofits, 403b, is the same thing. The importance of making sure your company provides a match, even if it's 1-2% is something, is technically free money. And if you work at an organization for a while, learn when that money is going to be, the term is called vested. And once that money is vested and you leave that job, you could take that money to your next job, or you could open up your own IRA if you know how to do that, and learn to invest that money on your own. I mentioned earlier, have life insurance, whether it be term or whole life, have something. I know we have many of our older adults in our family, they might have life insurance policies. However, they might not getting their bang for their buck. Perfect example, my mom was paying for life insurance for many, many years. I don't know, I regret not asking her, like, how do you know about just getting life insurance? She just knew, like, her credit got to be on point, and she knew she had to get life insurance, so she got one on me. But she wasn't paying every month these premiums, and then when she passed away in 2020, she only got, I think I got a check, maybe $5,000-$6,000. I'm like, you paying all this money every month, and you only getting $5,000-$6,000 check? It's not even going to cover like the worst funeral home in the hood. Looked at her like, you kidding me, right? But the struggle is real, and that goes to financial education in our community, that we have to educate ourselves and the importance of getting more bang for your buck in terms of whether it be term or whole life, get something. I know many people will say term over whole life, but even if you have a whole life policy, it's something to protect yourself, protect your loved ones, and if you want to, however you want to be, if you want to be buried, you want to be cremated, cremation is cheaper, and you can use that money to, the rest of the money you get in a refund and put it, that's how you start investing that way. I know when my ex-wife passed away, literally I got some money, and literally it took a couple of years because I didn't know about a high yield savings account, and then I opened a high yield savings account and start putting my money in there. So you gotta do what you can. You pay down any debts, pay it down the best you can. Acknowledging the past financial traumas. Seek help. There's financial advisors, financial social workers, financial counselors. There's a whole financial counseling organization. There's a whole financial social work certification program, which I got my certification in. We out here in these streets. Again, it's talking about the whole mental, emotional, and financial aspects. It's all intertwined, and we need to acknowledge and understand that everything is intertwined. Why I'm stressed out? Look in your wallet. There's nothing in there. I'm stressed out. Look at your banking app. So I know for years I was seeing negative in my Bank of America 2006, 2007, negative, red. It's like going. So I need y'all to stand up for this. We're going to end on a positive note. I know I gave y'all a lot of information. We're going to do some affirmations and repeat after me. I deserve to be happy.
I deserve to be happy.
You deserve to be happy.
You deserve to be happy.
Abundance is my birthright.
Abundance is my birthright.
Abundance is your birthright.
Abundance is your birthright.
I know and deserve my worth.
I know and deserve my worth.
Sí se puede.
Sí se puede.
We're going to thrive
We're going to thrive
in 2025.
2025.
Lo que falta poco, we're going to thrive.
2 months.
We're going to have a healthy wealth mix
We're going to have a healthy wealth mix.
in 2026.
2026.
These are some content creators, Latino financial content creators. All three of them I had the pleasure of meeting in person. 2 of the 3 have been on my podcast. My man Chris, he's out in Dallas, Latin Wealth Podcast, talk all things Latino and finances, South America, Caribbean, here in U.S. Janice Torres with her financial lit. She was just recently on my podcast. I had the pleasure of finally meeting her at FinCon in Portland. Her book is amazing. And Yaneli Espinal, she's also been on my podcast. Mind Your Money, an incredible book. When I read it, and the first couple pages is literally talking about going with her mom to face, which is now like public assistance. Human Resources Administration. We said face to face, I'm like, which brought me back to my mom going to 161st for public assistance. The face to face, why not face to face? So amazing down to earth book. For any caregivers, I'm offering a free 45-minute consultation and talk about what your current struggles with in terms of your finances, day-to-day caregiving struggles. It's okay to vent. Like, I'm taking care of my mom. She pissed me off the other day. She did this. My dad did this. And my kids did this. And like, how are you taking care of yourself? And like, having all these conversations. I'm here, be a listening ear for you. A free 45-minute consultation. And we could do some one-on-one work after that if you choose to. And my contact information, y'all know me, so y'all can get in contact with me. But for people watching at home, watch the video or listen, follow me, That's My Consulting on IG. Muchas gracias. Thank you. I want to thank Ponce Bank for their generosity in terms of, sponsorship. I had the pleasure of doing a financial workshop with them at Somos in Albany this year. And I got their contact information, like, let me shoot my shot and reach out to them about maybe sponsoring an event, because I wanted to do an in-person event to close out the year. And what better way to do it than Hispanic Latinx Heritage Month. And they agreed to sponsor this event, so thank you to them. My friend and colleague, Dr. LaShawn Paul, she couldn't be here today, but Redefine Strong, she does amazing things for African American women and has a conference every year. It was a great conference. I actually participated when she did one virtually a couple years ago, so shout out to her. I appreciate her. She's the one who dealt with Ponce Bank on my behalf and back and forth doing all the things, so it wasn't for her, this event would not be possible, so shout out to her. And to my friend and colleague, Erika Sandoval, the brilliant visionary of Latinx and social work. Her vision, along with the board members of Casa Wellness, doing amazing things with this space. Thank you so much for allowing me to host this event here. Shout out to all of you who decided to troop your way to Queens. Queens is I love Queens, it's my second favorite borough, but if you're not familiar with Queens, it could be a pain in the ass to get over here. No offense to my wife, my beautiful Queens girl. Speaking of my wife, thank you for always supporting my ideas and to be thinking out the box, and what I do is to potentially help you, whatever you want to do. We in this together to build together, and even though what are you doing is crazy, but all right, I support you. But thank you so much for always being there. And I like to call playfully thing one, thing two. First, my oldest. I was in grad school when he was born, and when I walked down the aisle and graduated from Fordham, the only time you get recognized. Fordham University, when I got my master's, my son was 18 months old, and he was the only reason I got through it, because I was like struggling. And thank you to my son Elijah. I think about everything I do, I do it for you. To my daughter Sophia, 3 years later, I have a beautiful baby girl. And from day one, she kept me on my toes. I tell the story all the time. She fought me and the nurse. The nurse was trying to measure her, how big she was, and she literally grabbed the tape. It was like, so I knew from there I was in trouble. But she's kept me on my toes from day one. For that, I appreciate her, and she's made life a whole lot better. So the two of them together, I love you both very much.